Here we go, episode 156 of The Hardline. Michael Merlo, John Michael Masiri here with you. JM, I almost said 158. I asked JM how many, I said it's 156, right? Probably 20 times before we hit the record button here. And I almost said 158, so give me credit. I completely flipped it and said 156.
I'm glad you powered through the mental block that you had. Very proud of you.
You should be proud.
Happy New Year to all those listening.
Yeah.
All those in Australia. When does that happen? Is that last or is it first?
Oh, they're first.
They're first. So by the time this comes out, they're already fireworks are done.
No,
Ball
I don't.
has dropped.
I don't think so yet. How many hours ahead? You have a
They're
computer
like
in front of you.
21 hours ahead or something crazy like that. Australia local time.
How are you going to do the math quickly?
12:29 p.m. on December 31st over there right now. It is currently 8:29 p.m. here on the 30th. They are 16 hours ahead of us.
So when this episode comes out, it'll already be the new year.
It will be the new year in Australia. So to our Australian viewers, salutations and Merry New Year.
We do have
Happy New
some.
Year.
We do have some Australian viewers.
I think we do.
We do. We 100% do. That's a fact. Don't fact check me, though.
Shout out to our Australian viewers.
Yeah, we have a busy episode, though. We missed last week. Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to all. And, of course, a Happy New Year, as JM said. But we have a lot to talk about. So before we start, because we both are very opinionated about this first topic, as everybody else is, I just want to give thanks. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing on YouTube, rating us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you haven't done so already, please do so. We really appreciate the support. JM, Raheem Morris probably doesn't have much support in his locker room or his offices today, as he made a boneheaded decision not calling a timeout. We actually just rewatched it again about 15 minutes ago, and it's actually worse than I remembered live. And yeah, I don't know how you recover from that. Like, how do coaches recover from that in a locker room when essentially, like, that's on him? The loss is on him.
Right. Yeah, the meetings on Monday morning or Tuesday morning, whenever they have them, it must be very uncomfortable for them. Yeah, you flat out just nailed it. He costed them the game. I mean, we could look in, do a deep dive in this game, talk about how certain players played and nitpick, but the most obvious cause of why they lost that game is forcing your his third team of the year kicker, Riley Patterson, to try to kick a 56-yard field goal on the road to win the game for you when you didn't have to be in that situation. Me and you were looking at it right before the show. It was 34 seconds left when Darnell Mooney caught that ball right along the sideline. He stayed in bounds. Even Mike Tirico said, they got to use a timeout. And Raheem Morris decided no. They got to the ball and snapped it with 17 seconds left. So they lost half the clock, and then by the time the play was over, you had 12 seconds left. At that point, you don't even need the 2 timeouts.
Yeah, he went to essentially, he would have went into overtime with 2 timeouts if it wasn't for needing to use one on the delay of game.
Yep.
I mean, JM, let's just go over the magnitude of this, right? Because you said it, Riley Patterson, not the greatest kicker in the world. I'm pretty sure Tirico had mentioned early in the game, like, he didn't look good in warm-ups either.
Yep.
So, but when he drilled the first one from, I think, 47 yards, it was a little shorter. So, you have a kicker who he's on his 3rd team of the year, whatever it is. He did not look good earlier in warm-ups, and you're essentially saying, yeah, we're okay with him kicking a 50-ish yard field goal. They had to get like 15, 20 more yards for you to even feel comfortable about the guy attempting a game-winning field goal. James, this is so bad on so many levels. We'll start with this. The entire world watched it. Right? It was one of the.
It was a great game.
It was a great game. It was one of the only good games on. It was one of the only games in the last 2 weeks here that actually had some sort of playoff implications.
Yeah.
So it was a big game for the NFL. They flexed it in. So the entire world watched that flub from Raheem Morris.
Yep. The entire world saw it. It was a fantastic game. It was a battle of 2 rookie quarterbacks. Penix, got off to a really shaky start. Then they started getting the run game going with Bijan. Penix came alive at the end. The touchdown to tie it was great, and that's kind of a moment that's kind of forgotten about because of what we're discussing now and because the Commanders ended up winning the game. But a great strike by Penix. Drake London was playing great down the stretch. And yeah, unfortunately, this hangs a gigantic cloud over it. And now the Atlanta Falcons need to go into next week facing the fact that they're probably not going to make the playoffs as long as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do not do a monumental choke job and lose to the New Orleans Saints.
Bucs are 13.5-point favorites in that one as of last night. Yeah. Another reason why this is just a monumental choke job. Home playoff game. Well, you just said the same
I did that, but you said it with more emphasis.
Playoff game.
Okay.
Home playoff game. Completely ripped off the table. Think the owner's happy about that?
Nope.
Oh, my God. Yeah. The money you're making just from that one playoff game.
Don't you think this might be a bit of a football gods moment? Because I think we're all sitting here and, like, it just didn't make sense to imagine the Falcons in the playoffs and not the Buccaneers.
How about this? And I came around to the hiring. You think Arthur Blank, who's buddy with Mr. Bill Belichick, you think this happens? Listen, maybe the season they're having doesn't happen. All right, they got a lot wrong in this offseason, right? I mean, signing Kirk, things like that, right? You think Arthur Blank, old man, rich guy, friends with Belichick, you don't think he's pissed right now?
Oh, he's
he went with Raheem Morris. He listened to his football people instead of hiring Bill. You don't think he's pissed right now?
Oh, he's definitely pissed.
That doesn't happen with Belichick.
That does not happen with Belichick. I said it last night. Like, these coaches need to... Do they not play Madden? Like literally, all the clock management skills that I have are from Madden, okay? Because anybody who watches football or plays Madden will look at that situation and be like, all right, timeout, right? Timeout.
Gotta call it.
I mean, how can you be around the game for that long and it doesn't even enter into your mind? And we're really ripping Morris apart, but around the league, we've seen this a lot this year.
It's been bad,
and it's been bizarre.
Can I make a statement?
Go ahead.
You might laugh at this. We have quality control coaches.
Yeah.
We've got linebacker coaches, assistant linebacker coaches, assistant DB coaches. For the love of Christ, can we get a time management coach here?
Yeah.
Take a burden off the head coach, okay? I know this is a quality we should probably be looking for in head coaches now. How do they manage the clock? I have an idea. Hire a guy that that's his only job.
Yeah.
Do you think we could do that? Is that a possibility?
One would hope.
Jesus.
One would hope, Mike. But I guess, is it not possible? Is there not enough room in the payroll for the Falcons? I don't know.
No, not even for the Falcons. For everybody.
For everybody.
This is a blanket statement for every team in the National Football League.
I mean, between that and the Eberflus thing on Thanksgiving, I gave him a little more slack for that. I think he got a little too much crap for that. They needed to save the timeout to kick a field goal. They only had one left on the board. The Bears did a really bad job getting the snap off in general. The Falcons just could have called the timeout. Like that's it. They just had two timeouts. You use one. You still got another one to spray. You could throw the ball in the middle of the field again. You could throw the ball to the side. You could run like 3 more plays if you use that timeout. You're talking about 34 seconds left on the clock for 17.
And I heard this take too. It's a common denominator between the Eberflus and this situation. If Kirk Cousins is on the field, maybe Kirk knows to call that timeout there right away, right? Penix doesn't, and Penix isn't going to overrule his head coach there.
Right.
So you have in these scenarios, you have 2 rookie quarterbacks. Now, they should know, right? This isn't their first time playing football, but there's so much going on in their head. Just call the timeout. If it was Cousins, maybe the timeout's called by Cousins.
Right.
Right? Because it's so obvious. A veteran quarterback would know what to do in that situation. But
did you see the camera time that Kirk Cousins was getting yesterday?
I almost felt bad for him.
It was very awkward. They kept showing him, and he didn't look very comfortable. He was standing there with his helmet on. Yeah. And obviously he's not playing in the game.
We all know Kirk's a great guy.
Kirk's a great guy. And
I'm sure he's doing a great job mentoring Penix.
Right. But they covered it up on the broadcast. I'm not criticized. They actually did a nice job because what the cameras were showing was something different. There was a huddle on the sideline of Penix with his coaches and the Microsoft tablets and the whole thing. And Kirk was kind of just sitting off to the side and not really involved in the conversation. So it looked like he was kind of just he didn't care.
After
he was
the
an outsider
interception,
in the situation after the interception. But luckily, the announcers clarified it as, he's been great. He's been helping him a lot and blah, blah, blah.
They actually said he went right after that meeting, he took him himself to the side and calmed him down.
Right. And we talked about Kirk a lot. He'll get a job next year somewhere.
Well, I don't feel that bad for Kirk. I mean, he made $90 million in this whole stint here.
Yeah.
It didn't work out, but he got paid.
Could that have been the right play, though, with Kirk? Revenge game on the road. I mean,
felt
he hasn't
bad.
been there in a little while, but
yeah, but and when they said it, I hadn't thought about it at all.
Yeah,
but obviously he got benched.
I still think they should have waited.
I don't know. Penix struggled at times last night, but he does show the flat. Like he looks like a rookie.
Yeah, he's got a great arm.
Like that arm translated.
He threw that nice pass to Hodge in the middle of the field that he just dropped it. I mean, actually, Jeremy Chin had a crazy hit.
A couple of drops. He can throw the football.
He can throw it really well, but I still think the stink around this situation now, I just don't think was necessary, and I don't think Penix really increases their chances of making the playoffs.
I think
obviously hindsight's 2020, but I don't think he does.
I think the offense they want to run, like Penix isn't a mobile guy, but he's more mobile than Kirk, and there are a couple of plays where they're running a play action and they're running a little screen here, and they're getting Penix out running a little bit. He can't do that with Kirk.
I wouldn't say Kirk looked exactly nimble this year.
No, he looked the opposite of that.
Yeah, yes.
But a tough situation. They're going to be out. The Bucs will win. I want to see if I have anything else on this one. I mean, a little bit on the game. Daniels is great. I mean,
he's amazing.
He's amazing. And there's one issue I have. He at no point can he run like this in his career again. I mean, they're going to get him hurt.
No.
They're going to get him hurt.
Well, he got a big hit at
the end.
He had two injury scares. The one where he wasn't even running, he just got sacked, where his knee got bent in a weird direction. I thought that was bad, and he was somehow perfectly okay. And then, at the end, he was running for the end zone. In overtime, he got blasted.
This is not sustainable.
Yeah.
But he's great.
He's great. He'll learn. I think he does do a pretty solid job because he's so shifty. I think he does a good job of getting into space and then going down, or maybe falling, like not taking those like brutal hits to the lower body. I think he does a good job of taking, softer contact. But I do agree, you can't carry the ball 16 times. But then again, this was a concern about Lamar. Lamar's not built strongly in his frame, and I know his rushing's gone down a little bit year after year, but he's still very mobile and he runs a lot.
And this is the difference, and why I think he'll be fine. I think out of college, Daniel's a better pocket passer than Lamar was out of college.
Out of college,
so obviously not now. And Lamar has turned into one of the best in the league, and that's why I think Lamar has sort of chilled out with the running. Even early in the regular season, they wouldn't run with Lamar in the red zone. Believe me, I would bet him to score a touchdown. Like they were just handing it to Henry, and they've chilled out with that.
Right. To me, an Anthony Richardson style of running is way more concerning than a Jaden Daniels style of running.
Yeah, again, I'm just concerned with the volume and how much they relied on it.
Right.
Because I got to say that their weapons are not good.
No, they're not.
They do not have good weapons over there. They need a complete retooling of what they have.
They're not awful. I mean, McLaurin's a great receiver.
I wouldn't say great.
Well, he did get belt to ass last night from AJ Terrell.
Crazy. He did nothing last night.
Yeah.
The one thing, he's having a good year. He's inconsistent. And he's not a one. I don't think he's a one.
He's not like...
He's not a one.
The problem is with like what you said of how people would perceive that, there's not 32 ones.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, obviously, technically on the depth chart, there'll be 32 number one wide receivers, but there's only a select number of guys that you're like, that's a number one receiver.
He's not one of them.
How many of those are there? I don't know. I would say maybe, 12?
That's tough. That's tough. So you got to count the rookies. Where are the rookies into this?
Can we...
I think you could confidently say
two rookies we could say are
Thomas and Neighbors are ones.
All right, but if we're saying Thomas, then McLaurin deserves to be respected then. It's not like Brian Thomas is blowing McLaurin out of the water here.
No.
And or maybe McLaurin's been around for a while.
He will be a one.
He will be a one.
He'll be better than McLaurin. Is that a hot take?
Sure.
I'm not a McLaurin fan. I'm not a fan of his.
Okay. Well, I think you have a little bias because of his size.
What do you mean?
I'm the same way. I'm not a big fan of the smaller receivers.
Oh, okay.
And McLaurin's is a little bit on the smaller side.
I was going to say, what do you mean there? They got to get some weapons. Go get T. Higgins. Imagine that, T. Higgins.
T.
And
Higgins.
we talked about it in the Uber the other night. How many teams be fascinating all offseason to talk about where T can go. He's obviously not going back to Cincinnati. So where could T go? And where does T make the most sense?
New England.
New England. I said the Chargers the other night. That makes a ton of sense.
New England could have a nice little offseason if they want to.
Yeah. If they fire their moron coach, that would be the start. But they're not going to do it. That's discussion
They're
for
beating
next
the Bills on Sunday, though. Let's go. Come on, Patriots. Do it.
I would really like if they did that.
Yeah.
I would really like if they did.
Can't wait to talk about that, Mike.
Yeah, I'm sure you cannot wait to talk about the Giants. Last question on this. Can the Commanders win a playoff game? Probably be the Eagles or the Rams.
Yes, they could beat the Rams. They can't beat the Eagles.
Interesting. Okay.
They could definitely beat the Rams.
They can't beat the Eagles.
Rams are... if the Eagles have Jalen Hurts?
Yeah.
No.
I think the Rams will beat them. I don't think they can't beat the Rams. I would not pick the Commanders.
Listen, they could do anything, okay? Technically, I can be dating Margot Robbie right now. Are the odds in my favor? No.
Okay.
Are the odds in the Commanders' favor to win in Philadelphia? No.
I would say no. That'd be a tough place for a rookie quarterback to go play his first playoff game.
Yeah.
I would. Seriously.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like they're very mellow. You know.
Might be there this weekend.
Respectful. Let's go. What do you want to... You gonna wear a jersey?
Maybe we could put this as a poll question.
Mm-hmm.
Giants fan here, going to potentially watch one of the worst football games of all time on Sunday.
Yep.
Tanner McKee versus Drew Lock.
Let's go.
I obviously want the Giants to lose the football game for obvious reasons. How much of a fraud would I be if I wore an Eagles sweatshirt then?
Fraud. Total fraud.
No.
Absolute fraud. That's taking it
So
way
just
too
go
far.
neutral. Just go neutral.
Go neutral.
I'm definitely not wearing
Or
Giants
do what I
gear.
did at the Jets game when I bet on the Seahawks. Wear a Jets jersey and root terribly hard for the Seahawks.
That's
make
different.
all the
You were-
fans around you very confused.
That was hysterical.
Yeah.
We're sitting in front of a bunch of Seahawk fans. He's in a Jets jersey, and we're
They're
rooting
like-
for the same team, but they were beefing. Like, it was crazy.
They're like going around to chirp me, and I'm like, I'm just as happy as you are.
It was
Give me a high five for that pick six on Leonard Williams.
really interesting. We were walking out, and I did this on purpose. The Seahawk fans are celebrating the worst win of all time. I mean, the Jets literally handed them the football game.
Yes.
And I was shocked because JM had a lot of money on the Seahawks.
Yeah.
I had a decent amount on the Seahawks that day.
Yeah.
And I was shocked we won the bet. And we're walking out of the stadium. I said it pretty loudly in front of them. I'm like, the Seahawks suck.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're celebrating this. I would not celebrate this. These people go crazy.
I think they got a nice reminder a couple weeks later of that they suck. That team.
The Packers.
We need to start a discussion about Geno.
Well, he's not a good boy anymore.
Bad.
We'll talk about the offseason.
Yes, we're going all over the place though.
Yeah, we are going to go to the Vikings and the Lions, the Packers here. Let me just start you off. I told JM this is going to be crazy, this segment, okay? Blind, you're watching the game blind, okay? You understand football, but you don't know the names of the players, okay? You watch Jordan Love and Sam Darnold. Who's a better player?
Sam Darnold.
You look at the numbers, blind resume this year. Who's a better player?
Sam Darnold.
How old is Jordan Love?
25?
26. How old is Sam Darnold?
26?
27. Conversation needs to happen. Darnold, if he stays in this system, can win an MVP.
Yeah.
And he's going to. They're gonna extend him. It's gonna be a multi-year extension. I think they'll get rid of JJ.
They're nuts if they don't.
This isn't a Purdy situation. This isn't a Dak situation. Like, Darnold has always had the traits of a good quarterback.
Yes.
Big arm, could move a little bit, big body, can make most of the throws.
Yep.
He's just in the perfect situation now.
Yep.
With Kevin O'Connell, he stays here. I think
he's a franchise quarterback.
Yeah, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah. And he should definitely want to.
Yeah. He should take a pay cut.
And he should, yeah, they said it last night on the broadcast. He should take a pay cut. He should stay there for as long as he could possibly get in terms of years. He should take that pay cut. He could have if he wants to maximize his career and revitalize it like the way he saw it when he came into the NFL, right? He envisioned himself, obviously, a top 3 pick. I'm sure he believed in himself more than anybody.
Yep.
And, his career got off to a terrible start with the disaster with the Jets, which I think you could put, Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen there, and the same thing would happen. And then he, goes over to Carolina, which, wow, what a funny QB room that was a couple of years ago. You're talking about, two of the top 5 maybe quarterbacks in the NFC in the same room over there. And now he gets his opportunity. I even skipped the 49ers. He's a backup. And now he gets the opportunity in Minnesota. But, Mike, we were sitting here a year and a half ago in the offseason heading into last year's season and saying, oh, Darnold, he should really get a real shot at the starting job over Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And at that point, it sounded nuts. I still think at this point, I mean, you look at the way the both of them are playing, is it crazy to think about anymore of who's the better quarterback?
Oh, it's not even close.
Yeah, right now it's Darnold.
You could pay somebody money, like a $40-50 million a year contract.
Yeah.
No doubt you're paying Darnold.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. It also just shows you we know the importance of coaching in this league, but similar styles of offense. He's with San Francisco. Now he's with O'Connell. I'm sure he learned a ton from Shanahan. Now to go over to O'Connell, who should be coach of the year.
Yep.
It's just good for him.
It's still. I will say this. I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on the Sam Darnold glazing right now.
Yeah.
I say it. I don't know how many freaking times I've said it on this show that there's a certain class of quarterbacks that you put them in a really good situation, they will succeed. You put them in a really bad situation, they will not succeed. Then there are your quarterbacks who are just bad no matter what, and then there are your quarterbacks who are your unicorns who are good no matter what, like your Josh Allens, your Lamars, your Mahomes, and all those guys. Sam Darnold is still in that crew of your Jared Goffs and your Purdy's and your whoever else of good situation, good quarterback. I don't think he'd be a guy. He's proven it. So obviously that you put him anywhere and he's an elite quarterback. He's not in that class.
I completely agree with you at the moment. But let's say middle of Brady's tenure in New England, right? We took him out. And we said he's a system guy. Now he's going to go play for, the Jets, the Giants, right? When do you graduate? How many years? Because Brady left the Belichick, and Brady, the Belichick Patriot way, went to Tampa and statistically had fantastic seasons, right? He was still great. So when do you graduate from that? And I'm genuinely asking, if Darnold had a 3 or 4 year run here with the Vikings and he was top 5 at MVP 2 years, he's really, really good. They're in the playoffs. At a certain point, you graduate from that level of, okay, you know what? Yeah, you're in a great system, but you're also a really talented quarterback, right?
Yeah. Well, it's tough. I mean, Brady is obviously a very unique case. He was with one organization for almost 20 years, and then he goes to Tampa Bay, and we know how Brady's the smartest quarterback who's ever played, and we also know that Tampa Bay roster was ready to win when he got over there. It was a very good roster. So, do I think if Sam Darnold got off to a start with the Vikings to his career he started with them, could things be different? Yeah, sure. I mean, Terry Bradshaw said it on the postgame yesterday. Nobody questioned the draft pick of Sam Darnold. He was highly touted coming out of college. The talent has always been there. So if he got off to a start with a good organization, could we be having different conversations about him saying elite quarterback, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Sam Darnold, those guys in the same category? Sure. I don't know. It's a very fine line, and it's hard to read of, is this guy really good because of his system, or is he just a really good quarterback in general?
Because if you took, I won't use Allen. If you took Mahomes out of his system now, right?
Yeah. I
would lean towards the Brady thing. Well, he could go somewhere else and kind of regard, as long as you have the weapons there, he'll be perfectly fine.
I don't think it's a knock, and I know quarterbacks have said this before. It's not a knock to say a guy is a system quarterback, because look at Russell Wilson. This is a guy who won a Super Bowl, went to multiple Super Bowls, was an MVP candidate on his, on a Hall of Fame track with the Seattle Seahawks, and played that improviser style, was mobile, and just seemed like he could, elevate any team he was around. And then he moves systems and goes over to Denver in the Nathaniel Hackett system, and it goes terribly. And now he goes to Pittsburgh and is having a career 2.0 with Pittsburgh. So, we don't really see it often, because if there's a very special quarterback, he usually ends up staying with that organization for his entire career. But would that happen more often if quarterbacks moved around? Would we see a Joe Burrow, a Josh Allen, a Lamar, a Mahomes? Will we see them move to a crappy system and be, borderline starting quarterbacks like Wilson was?
I think quarterbacks sort of, and maybe it won't happen, but now obviously, but look at a guy like Lawrence who has just struggled. Like, wouldn't you think Lawrence would want to try and get to a situation where, and it's not the quarterback mobility is a really tough thing, but you mentioned it. Would more guys want to move? Like, you should want to move to better situations if you had the opportunity to do so. You shouldn't lock yourself in Jacksonville where they don't get anything right ever for 4 or 5 more years at a crazy number where you can't bring in other talented players. You know what I mean? Like, that's a tough, so yeah, maybe you're going to see the lower level quarterbacks move to these situations, right? Like Daniel Jones was never going to go to a Seattle or be a backup on a potential contender. He was going somewhere where he could potentially develop in a second stage, like he's seen Baker and Geno and Darnold do. You're going to see more of that now.
Totally. You're going to see a lot more of it.
I was a huge fan of Darnold out of college. I wanted the Giants to draft him when they drafted Barkley, and I was super jealous when the Jets. We were how long ago? We were close then. Yeah. We were in high school?
Dude, Jesus,
that was high school?
We were 17.
Yeah, that's right. It was that. We were that old.
Francis were like 14, 13.
So, like, I was super jealous when the Jets got Darnold. I'm like, Jets finally got their guy. I loved Darnold. It would have taken him 1. And this is why. I mean, you're seeing why and why other people loved him. It's now. Now the Packers, 0-4 against the Lions and the Vikings.
0-5 against the Lions, Vikings, and Eagles.
Wow. I'll say this. They're super young. So, like, if you look at the 3 teams we just mentioned, those rosters are, I don't want to say significantly better, but they are more talented than the Packer roster, no doubt. So, that's the one thing. Like, this Packer team is on the up and up, and I know Packer fans probably don't want to hear that. You want to win now. You have the expectations now. But, I don't know. Like, they can still win a playoff game. To me, they're not better than those 3 teams, but they're probably 4th on that list.
Right, and I totally agree. They've had some injuries. Their secondary's been banged up. Jair didn't play yesterday. They're just the Packers. Like, I've been dying to see them show up in a game against a great team, and we just said it. They're 0-5 against the top 3 teams in the NFC, and 2 of them happen to play in their division. And they haven't been able to do it. And when you look at the rest of their schedule, we were looking at it before. I mean, the Rams, the Seahawks, those are really maybe the Texans. Those are your 3 biggest wins. That's nothing to write home about. So the Packers, listen, we said it last year going into the playoffs. You got, oh my God, maybe the most iconic hardline clowning clip of all time.
You know what's funny?
When you were ripping on them, saying the Packers were going to get blown out by the Cowboys.
I was out to lunch with a few friends, and that clip came up, and we went back and read some of the comments on that.
Oh my God, golden, right? People
Bad.
Are miserable.
People were going after me.
But you know what?
You were safe.
I was safe.
I got the brunt of it.
But I love it because I was looking at old clips of ours today, and there was the one of me saying the Texans weren't going to make the playoffs, which I was wrong that they're not going to make the playoffs, but that's only because they're bailed because their division is terrible. But I was saying things like, C.J. Stroud, we shouldn't anoint him yet. Who's to say he's not going to have a sophomore slump and all that stuff? The comments, clown, what the hell are you smoking, bro? This and that. You got to just
comment back.
Yeah.
Just Adam.
Yeah, come back at me now. But anyways, we said, we didn't have expectations for them in the playoffs last year. They got a crappy start to the season. They kind of, had a late season spark. Love was playing great. Toyota Jordan Love. And they end up almost beating the Niners on the road and advancing to the championship game. So you never know. But if I had to guess, I don't think that's happening again.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go on a run here. Again, they could. I mean, how about that? I mean, for both teams, kind of sucks. It's potentially you draw the Eagles in the first round here. That's what it looks like. I think
that's what as of right now.
If both teams won next week, Philly hosts Green Bay, and the Rams are hosting the Commanders.
Yep,
that's a tough first round draw for both.
Yep.
That's a fantastic game though in Philadelphia. It's a fantastic game.
I'm telling you, the NFC playoff picture is very exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see a team like in the AFC. I see a couple like, okay, obviously nobody wants to watch the Chiefs anymore. We're just tired of them. But in the NFC, I mean, there's not a team in there. Even the Bucks intrigue me. There's not a team in there that doesn't intrigue me.
Right. There's more teams that you could say, oh, I could see them winning.
Yeah. and it'd be a fun game. And this,
To me, there's only 3 teams in the AFC, and we're going to talk about it. There's 3 teams in the AFC that can win.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. We don't even have to say them. It's pretty obvious.
You got 4, potentially 5 teams in the NFC. You're like, yeah, I could see that.
Yep. The only one in the AFC that I could actually see maybe sneaking their way up is Chargers. I could see, just because of how well coached they are and they have a great talented quarterback, I could see them.
They have too many duds. They've had a couple of duds.
They do.
That's my problem.
You're going to sit here and be confident about Pittsburgh, about Denver?
No, not at all.
If the Bengals sneak in.
Yeah, let's go to that. Oh, first, we're about to talk about that. Let's talk this Sunday night game, which is unbelievable. I think it's Tirico said it last night. It's the game with like the most combined wins of all time.
Yep.
13 and either 14 or 13,
regular
depending
season,
on what happens. Yeah, regular season. So it's essentially the most winningest regular season game of all time. So good to us.
Yeah, and they just so happen to be playing for something within their division.
I can't wait.
I am extremely excited.
I really can't wait.
Yep.
I think the Vikings are going to win the game.
I think, Mike, I've been waiting to come around on the Vikings for a while on this show.
You're here?
Oh, I'm here.
Okay.
And Detroit, I don't know. I'm not going to look too far into this game with the Niners right now, but they haven't been able to stop a nosebleed yet on defense.
That's good.
Their
defense.
That defense, it's at a certain point you can't overcome injuries, and they are past that point. I mean, there are so many injuries on this defense that they might have to start signing guys off the freaking street. So I would have to. It's really hard to sit here right now and not look at the Vikings as the favorite in the NFC right now.
It's tough to pick them right now. I would not want to pick them right now to win anything because you mentioned it. The defense, like it's too banged up.
You know what's sad? Oh, I thought you were talking about the Vikings. You're talking about the Lions, but
I was talking about the Lions.
You know what's sad is a little part of me right now. I envision these NFC teams like Detroit, Philly, and Minnesota. Thank you. I envision all of them as like these like exciting, really talented, good teams. There's a little part of me that could envision in the playoffs where like, oh, they all aren't that good. I feel like all their flaws could be exposed at one point.
I think the loser of the Vikings-Lions game could potentially, if you're playing on the road and you don't have these home games, maybe. I don't know. But that's the thing. Like you mentioned, I feel like this comes back to the system quarterback thing.
Yeah.
Because you're saying it about Goff and Darnold, I'm assuming. Like, yeah, I guess in the back of your mind you could think that.
Well, I was just saying, like, the Vikings have this thing with all the one-score games, and the Lions have this defense that has, been banged up beyond belief. The Eagles with Hurts' injury, and we've seen them at certain points be like, what the hell happened to this team? Maybe things could get weird.
So who's going to win? The Rams? The Rams are sneaky to me. The Rams are sneaky to me.
Rams are a little sneaky. Commanders could be sneaky.
They could. I don't think they will be.
I think that game on Sunday night, though, was a little more about, like, oh, maybe both these teams aren't that good. Their offenses are good.
What's Sunday night?
Sunday Night Football with Commanders and the Falcons. Their defenses were like, oof.
Yeah, not good. That's why I don't think the Commanders could beat the Rams. I think Stafford would have a
I don't
day.
think the Rams defense really moves me either, though.
It doesn't, but Stafford against a young, not-so-great defense.
With Cooper Kupp blocking all day.
Right, and Puka doing all the work. Yeah, that scares me.
Yeah.
Again, there's one quarterback I would take in the NFL right now. I need to win a playoff game. There's only one guy I would take over Stafford. That's Mahomes.
One guy.
Win a playoff game.
You would take Matt Stafford over Josh Allen.
Yeah, to win a playoff game. Stafford.
That is actually insane.
Clutch, veteran, make all the throws, tough as nails, won't make the big mistake.
I need you to sit 1 second. Think about what you just said.
Yeah.
Really, really think it through.
Stafford's earned my trust.
One quarterback in the NFL you would take over him, and it's Patrick Mahomes.
I'm going to die if I don't win this game.
You're picking Matt Stafford after Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Not Joe Burrow. Josh Allen.
Nope. Stafford.
Lamar.
Stafford. Trust. It's a trust
That
thing.
is a take.
It's a trust thing.
That's a take.
Stafford.
What the hell did the Lions just do?
You tell me. We're recording in the middle of Monday Night Football right now. It's a meaningless game. What they do.
Jared Goff passed short right to Amon-Ra St. Brown for 41 yards. 1 yard lateral to Jameson Williams.
So Williams got in.
Oh, hold on. Oh, they did. I think they did the little hook and ladder thing.
Wow.
Pass short right to Amon-Ra for 1 yard. Lateral to Jameson Williams for 41 yards. Touchdown.
Crazy they're showing anything in a game here that
Yeah.
means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
That's
Good for them for
wild.
not resting their starters, though, because that was really pissing me off today when I was seeing that.
Yeah, but Jay, this would have been like the most vanilla game plan of all time for me.
Oh, yeah, like a preseason game.
Yeah.
Sit in cover 2 all day and
I would have shown
run
nothing.
inside zones and hitch routes.
That's all this would have been today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very quickly before we talk about the New York Giants.
Yes.
The AFC wildcard picture. You mentioned something about the Bengals.
Let's go.
Bengals would get bounced in the first round
they wouldn't.
with ease.
They would not.
Ease.
They would not.
Ease.
If the Bengals went into Buffalo, Buffalo would have a problem.
Really?
Buffalo would have a problem.
How many points did Buffalo score against the Jets this week?
That this does not count at all.
How many points did the
This does not
Buffalo
count.
Bills
That
score
does not
against the
count
Jets
at all.
this week?
That does not count at all.
Tell me how many
That's like losing your virginity to a stripper.
No.
It's guaranteed.
I want to
There's
know.
no work to do.
I want to know how. How many points? I just want to know the number.
They gave up 40 points.
I'm pretty sure they put up 42 against the Bengals defense.
And the Bengals put up 45. How about that?
No, they wouldn't. This
That Bills defense has looked like Swiss cheese at certain points against good offenses.
This wasn't a knock on the Jets. I just want to know how many points the Bills scored. That's all I wanted to know.
Okay. Well, what was you're obviously driving at a point because you know how many points they scored.
The Bengals defense stinks, and they don't stop a nosebleed. And Josh Allen against that defense in Buffalo would put up 40-something points.
I remind you of the Bills against the Rams and the Lions back-to-back weeks, giving up like a combined 90 freaking points or whatever it was?
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah.
That wasn't ideal.
So what would happen with Joe Burrow, who is playing the most ridiculous stretch of football right now that I've maybe ever freaking seen in my life? The guy's throwing 3 touchdowns and 300 yards every single week. What are they going to do when they walk into Buffalo? Which may I remind you of a certain playoff game 2 years ago where you were, Bills, and the Bengals belt to ass in Buffalo.
I think we're looking at Burrow, and he's unbelievable, and Higgins and Jason, they're great. They're historic numbers. Video game. Looks like a video game. Mm-hmm. First of all, they're not making the playoffs. That's the first thing. They're not making the playoffs.
You wait.
Oh, yeah, Carson Wentz is going to, turn back the clock and win the game against
Hell yeah, he is. And they need the Jets to beat the Finns.
Oh, great.
Yeah, wait till 8, Rodgers.
Tyrod Taylor versus Tyler Huntley.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
No, Rodgers has to get his 500 touchdowns, so he's got to throw the ball to Davante Adams 40 times.
I bet on that last week. First time the thing. Bet on that in Buffalo to him to throw it to Adams. Nothing. Waste of $10.
His highlight of the game was an illegal, a late hit out of bounds on an interception. Aaron Rodgers. First time I've ever seen a quarterback a late hit out of bounds.
That was the most embarrassing game I think I've ever. And I've watched a lot of embarrassing games. That was bad.
You know what the sad part is? I don't think so. I've watched a lot worse.
Michael Clemens jumping on top of that pile was the funniest thing on planet Earth.
Guy did a full somersault.
How is he still employed?
I don't know.
Like, why don't they just cut him?
He's like the fake tough guy. My brother was over, and he's very, knows a lot of football. But I was like, hey, Joe, this guy Michael Clemens, he's the guy on our team that's supposed to be the tough guy. But the one problem is he's ass, and that's exactly what Michael Clemens is.
It is just.
How was the play? Was it cool?
It was all right. I don't know why this shows. I'm reading Roki Sasaki.
Okay.
Quick. Where were we, though?
Football show, Mike.
Where were we?
We were talking about the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals potentially meeting in a matchup if all things go right.
I'll pause this before I even say it. Burrow's on his back half the time. The offensive line can't protect him to save their lives. So Buffalo's defense isn't that great. I'll give you that.
How'd you like that MVP ladder I had?
Yeah, it's just disrespectful to Josh is all
It's
it
not.
is. You're just
It's
throwing
not.
the disrespect to Josh. I am willing to put Burrow on the list. Not over Joshy Poo and not over Sammy.
See, Sam, I don't get. And relax with the nicknames.
You don't like the nicknames?
No. Sammy Poo.
Joshy Poo.
Joshy Poo.
Sammy.
And Sammy?
Just Sammy.
Sammy.
We're on that kind of level. Me and Sam.
I have a lot of things to say about the Giants, but wrapping up the AFC playoff picture.
I don't have much to say here. Denver deserves it.
Yeah, but I definitely don't want to see Miami make it. And not because I'm a Jets fan. That team is not a good football team. No. I don't want to see them make the playoffs.
I don't want that either. Let's make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, but Bengals or Denver, sure. Go right ahead.
I will admit that, okay, what's a more entertaining game? Bills, Bengals, Bills, Broncos. It's obviously Bills, Bengals. I still think the Bills win. I don't think the Bengals win.
I would not be surprised if I saw a Bengals. What the hell was I going to say? That was really bad. I looked at a notification. The Broncos, I would not be surprised if they got worked by the Kansas City Chiefs without Patrick Mahomes. That's what I was going to say.
I don't think. No.
Even with the backups. You don't think Carson Wentz, he wants to prove a little something, play a little spoiler, division rival, Andy Reid pulling out the tricks. Like, they're still a very well-coached team, and I know they want to play spoiler.
The problem is...
And they're home, right? They're in
Denver.
Oh, they're in Denver. Okay.
Problem is, so is Denver. Like, Denver is a very well-coached team,
Yeah,
too.
but we're talking Andy Reid here.
Sean Payton's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's not Andy Reid. He's Sean Payton. They'll be fine. They'll win the game.
Detroit defense right now.
Bad.
40-yard gain on 3rd and 7.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, this is going to be Vikings
They might
all
be
over the place.
Okay. Last thing about Detroit, if they lose to Minnesota, they'll be playing Tampa Bay most likely on the road in the first round. And Tampa Bay's had their number the past couple times they've matched up. They lost to them in the playoffs last year.
That was a close game.
But was it they won the opening game of the year or the second game of the year?
Yep.
That was the Lions' first loss of the year.
Yep.
And they played them close in Tampa Bay last year. I don't remember in the regular season. I don't remember who won that game.
The Lions won that game because I had money on Tampa that day and they lost.
But no matter what, it'll be a tight game. And who knows what that defense and that offense for Tampa Bay looks really good right now.
It's not a team I want to play, especially with a bad defense.
Not at all.
That's not what Baker slinging the rock right now. And by the way, impressive. They don't even miss. Like, they miss Godwin, but McMillan has just stepped up and he's like,
he has.
Okay.
And your boy Shepard.
Yeah, Sterling. Good for him. Good for Sterling. All right, here we go. The Giants. You know, the one thing I have to say, another time.
There we go.
The one thing I have to say, like, teams don't actively try and lose. So as much as I was sitting there and moaning and groaning when the Giants were driving down the field and neighbors are making spectacular plays, and I'm pissed off. Yeah. Like, I know the Giants are trying to win the game. So, like, these people, you know, on social media and the fans and the media, too, a little bit, like, can you just sit back and realize, like, these people are coaching for their jobs and playing for their livelihoods here? Like, of course they're trying to win. Now, I don't need Drew Lock saying the fans deserve this. Screw you, Drew. Yeah. You know what you're doing. So please, for the love of Christ, we.
That's a nice rage bait out of Drew Lock.
It is. It's great. Yeah. Like, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, I get, like, he's trying to do his job.
Mike, how do I? So I've been thinking about this a lot, and we're going to talk about them. And I don't want to be the guy that, you know, I'm your friend. I'm supposed to be very nice and supportive.
Yeah.
And I don't want to push your buttons.
Yeah.
But let me just throw something out there. You know how we've been sitting here since the podcast was created, and even before then, and discussing Daniel Jones and that draft pick and how it was a year too late, and they shouldn't have picked Saquon, they should have picked Darnold and all that stuff. What if that's about to happen all over again, where they took a generationally talented skill position player, just like Saquon Barkley and Malik Neighbors, and now a year later in a much weaker quarterback class, and it's a little bit different because they didn't have the opportunity to select a quarterback as high as they did in 2018 when they selected Barkley instead of Darnold, but in a weaker quarterback class this year, now you are outside of one of those, number 1 or number 2 picks, those 2 really good quarterbacks we see as prospects. And now you could potentially reach for one in the draft.
So I think the difference is they didn't have the ability to take one of the top 3 guys in that draft last year.
You still have the opportunity to take Penix, or I know they tried to trade up, but
right, they tried to trade up.
Nix, you could have taken Penix.
Right, I don't think Nix would be having the season. Like I think Nix would not succeed here.
Yeah,
and Penix is the argument. Penix is the guy that you can argue about, and I'm fine with that. You also took a position of need, it's also one of the more valuable positions nowadays in wide receiver. As opposed to a running back. So that's why, and it was obviously a later pick. So that's why I'm there. I'm okay with it.
I just think, how often does it happen that you select a wide receiver before you have other things in place and it ends up working out? Because, I'm dealing with it right now with Garrett Wilson. He's, going to be well on his way out. He should want to be on his way out.
Well, T. Higgins and Joe Burrow.
T. Higgins is a second-round pick. I'm talking about, using a first-round pick or a
fair.
high first-round pick on a wide receiver. How often does that happen where it actually ends up working out? Because when they took Chase, Burrow was already there.
Right.
And, you don't have to try to think of an example if you can off the top of your head now.
But my thing is, so when you do get that quarterback, this guy's a number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah.
If you get him.
But you got to get him, the next year. You can't wait too long because then – the receiver struggles with bad quarterbacks, or the receiver wants out, or just bad things happen.
I know the Giants want to win games. Obviously, we talk about it's their livelihood. But you think there's any part of Joe Shane that's sitting there saying, "Damn it"?
Yeah, 100%.
You think so?
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
I don't know.
You watch offseason Hard Knocks last year. They're debating about trading up for Daniels, and they're going through this whole process and their plan and everything. You don't think they're sitting there saying, "Damn it, we would have had a lot easier of a process if we just had the number 1 overall pick and we knew who we were picking for 3 months."
Who would you pick right now?
The
quarterback.
I personally like Ward more than I like Sanders.
Yeah, I especially after last week.
And I don't call me that guy, but I don't want to deal with the headache of Sanders potentially.
Neither do I. I don't want to.
You could get a lot of negative attention with Sanders. When things go south a little bit, he's very loud on social media. I went on a whole freaking rant about it a month ago about NFL players on social media, and I got to deal with the BS of Sauce Gardner in T. Higgins' comment section on Instagram talking about this was the most ridiculous thing ever. T. Higgins posted Instagram, and Sauce Gardner's like, "Oh, he's him," or whatever. And T. Higgins is like, or somebody replies to Sauce Gardner and says, "Tell him to come to the Jets." And he goes, "I will not be telling him that."
I know Sauce cleared it up. "Oh, no, we got all these receivers."
Yeah.
What he was saying.
Yeah.
There's no walking that one back.
Even if that's true, can you read the freaking room? A little situational awareness, maybe, Sauce? These guys are so freaking tone deaf.
It's so funny.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to deal with that.
Ward also, go back and watch the bowl game he played in a couple of days ago. Not to have recency bias. He did it all year.
Yeah.
But he's making these throws, tight window.
He's got the aura. I know Shadur Sanders also has aura, but, the way he throws I've never seen it before.
I'd really see, and I don't think Ward would be the reach or the guy you know what I mean? I think Ward, I don't know where he would rank in the quarterbacks of last season, probably fourth, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I still kind of want him. Where does McCarthy rank here?
I think McCarthy would be 3rd. I do. And I know I've seen that a lot of people saying, well, if the Vikings want to trade him, they could be asking front offices around the league, well, where would you rate him in last year's draft? You're basically getting a rookie quarterback here. I get that. It's a smart negotiation tactic, but to some people that are saying that he would be 1, no way.
I haven't watched enough. I think Ward would be 1. I think McCarthy would be 2. Just based off of what.
But we're also think about the point we're at in the process, and think about where we were at this point last year. You know how it goes. Usually, there's a couple quarterback. You'll hear that it's a better quarterback class, a worse quarterback class, or whatever. But there's always a couple guys that rise up the draft boards. J.J. McCarthy was not at the top of the draft boards at this point last year.
No.
Even after the championship game, as we went through the combine and the workouts and the this and that and the meetings, all of a sudden you were hearing more and more buzz about J.J. McCarthy.
Here's my question. That's what the reason why I bring up JJ, and I saw this from I think Gary Myers on Twitter last night. Mm-hmm. If you called the Vikings, like let's say to trade up to 1 or 2 to get Ward, right? Was this year's first, next year's first, and a couple other picks, right? Mm-hmm. Or if you call the Vikings and they just want your 4th overall pick for McCarthy, no. But you would have to have him rated like over Shedeur to do it, or over Ward to do it.
Just the 4th pick,
because it's just the 4th pick.
So, there's a couple ways to look at it. This is very minuscule, but like you do get a quarterback who was taken 6th overall, and you get him for the 4th pick. So
10th.
He was 10th overall.
Yeah, the Giants had 6.
Oh, thank you. You know what it was? I was mocking him to trade with the Vikings at 6. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. You get a guy who was picked 10th overall, so you're getting the 10th overall pick salary for the 4th overall pick, if you want to look at it like that.
Yeah.
On the downside, you're getting 1 less year of control. So I think that
I have an upside for you.
What?
Sat in Kevin O'Connell's room for a full year.
Sat in Kevin O'Connell's room. How important is that versus actually playing on the field? I don't know. He didn't get much action in the preseason. He played 1 game.
Looked good in that game.
He did look good. But yeah, I mean, if you're the Giants and you lost out on Sanders or Ward, you could look at this as a positive of trading for J.J. McCarthy.
Or take best player available again.
Yep.
Sign a bridge quarterback. I actually don't. And I guess I felt differently about this a few weeks ago. Actually, I don't even want to say that. I don't think it's not a good roster. I don't think it's far off healthy. They are so banged. I mean, they put half their players on the IR. Yeah. I mean, go look at the IR list. Yeah. Everybody's on the IR. Yeah. I don't think they're that far off where, you're 5 years away from competing. I don't think that's the case. So I'm not saying
any team is that far away.
I don't but they're not 2 their roster overall probably isn't 2-13 bad as it was going in the other day. I don't know. I don't know.
They do have youth.
They're very young.
Which sometimes it could be. Well, is it just bad youth? That's maybe, but there's some players on that roster that are young that give you hope for the future. Obviously, Neighbors is the first guy you think of, but there are some other guys in there.
I just don't know. I don't know what you do. Are you gonna sign a bridge quarterback?
No.
And
I
then
think that should be the plan. They should want to get one of Ward or Sanders. Maybe as the draft process goes about, there's another prospect that shoots his way up the boards like Carson Beck. Let's go, Mike. No, not Carson Beck, but maybe somebody else. Milrow, exactly. Or you trade for J.J. McCarthy. Those should be the only options. In no way should this team, sign a Kirk Cousins or somebody like that. It doesn't make any sense to do that. I mean, why? You're gonna let Neighbors get 1 year closer to needing an extension, and you're just gonna try to be a mediocre at best team next year? And also, who's the GM? That's something. Who's the coach? That's something we're dancing around. We haven't even talked about that. If it's Shane and Daboll, still, you think Shane's gonna sign a bridge quarterback when his feet were to the fire all year long?
He's gonna try and get a quarterback.
He's gonna try to get a franchise quarterback.
Probably gonna trade up. Giants are probably gonna trade up.
Yeah,
they're gonna mortgage the future to trade up.
Yep.
But then it's
New England is sitting there right now, counting their blessings.
But you're going to allow a potential lame duck general manager to trade your future first-round pick to go up and get a quarterback you're not 100% sure on? Oh my God, what a mess this is. What a mess this is.
Wait. But why would you? What's the difference in that versus Shane? What, you're just more familiar with Shane? If you don't think the guy
Shane
can do the job,
is the lame duck GM.
Oh yes, okay.
Shane, I'm under the assumption they're both coming back.
I am too.
I think Mara keeps them both.
Yeah.
So under this assumption, they probably get 2 years with the quarterback.
Yeah.
But again, you're going to mortgage your future on a guy you're not 100% sure on in Shane. You're going to allow him to do this? Really?
Listen, either way, it's a tough decision whether to let them go and bring someone in and say, hey, new GM, draft our quarterback of the future. Or to stick with Shane and to stick with the coach.
But
it's a tough decision either way.
If the right decision, if it comes down to it, and the Giants look at it and say the right decision with Shane, the right decision is to stick it out, is to go another year, lame duck, a bridge quarterback. Shane's not going to do that.
No.
Because he can't.
Right, exactly, because his job is on the line.
New general manager would look at the situation without
he's got more freedom. He's got, he's got more years to work with his job.
What a mess. And I wouldn't fire Dable. So I honestly don't know. And to be honest with you, I don't even care right
All
now.
right. Well, on that note, that's good.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, with New England, I mean, they have the opportunity to trade down to maybe 3 or 4, whether it's with the Giants or somebody else.
Yep.
And
cash in
and get multiple other picks and still get Travis Hunter.
Yep. Or Abdul Carter or that corner from Michigan.
Will
There's
Johnson,
3 really good players that probably going to be number 1 on a lot of big boards, and they're going to get them at 3 or 4 and get more picks.
Yep.
They need to fire that coach. Mayo is a mess. We'll talk about that on Black Monday next week.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's gone for them.
That's going to be fun.
Who opens up? You want to do a quick prediction? Who opens up?
First one off the board.
We already have Jets Saints.
We already have Jets Saints.
And Bears.
And the Bears. I'm going to say the first firing. Let me just think about who's on the chop block. Raheem Morris might want to throw his hat in the ring after that performance. How about this? How about underdog dark horse firing candidate Shane Steichen?
Yeah.
Potential firing of Shane Steichen. I will say, if I had to put my money on somebody, though, I'd say Doug Peterson.
I think Peterson is totally gone, and Antonio Pierce is gone.
I don't know about that one.
I think he's gone.
I think
there's
this. We know it. We've been ripping on this guy for so freaking long. It seems like a ritual at this point to rip on a Raiders head coach.
Yeah.
But there's a weird vibe with him in Vegas, and it seems like they're in love with him for whatever reason. Because he promotes this hard-nosed ass style of football.
I thought this too. They're not going to do it. But I actually think they're going to now. He's terrible. I think they're going to. Unless these last 2 wins saved his job.
For their sake, I would really hope that they do.
Did the last 2 wins save his job?
Maybe. Yeah, big win against New Orleans Saints. There you go.
And who did they beat the other day? The Jags. Jags and Saints. Those are big wins.
There you go.
The NFL sucks. All right. Do you want to talk at all about potential playoff matchups here?
I think we should save that for next week.
Let's save that for next week.
We've already talked about the potential Lions, Vikings.
Yes.
Lions, 49ers.
Buccaneers.
God, that's the game right now. Thank you, Jesus. Or the Bengals and Bills game, potentially.
Yes.
And the possibility of a Packers-Eagles game. But, yeah, no, I think we're good.
So let's do a little hate club and get out of here for the year.
Mike, why don't you lead us off?
I will lead us off. So I know this might sound crazy. You look in baseball, the number of games has been raised all throughout history. And single season records get broken all the time. But for the life of me, I can't understand why anybody would want Saquon Barkley to play in a meaningless game to break a record that not many people give a crap about, playing in 1 extra football game.
Yeah, I will say that it is a bit of an asterisk.
You haven't had a bye week since week 5. You have a guy who has been injured a lot in his career. He's playing in only his 2nd postseason ever. Rest the guy. Okay, as much as it would be great to see him do it potentially in person, against my team, whoop-de-doo, sit him. There's no point in playing him. To the people that actually want him to play in a meaningless football game and get the record is beyond me. You need this guy to win a Super Bowl.
Yep.
Let him do that. That's more important. That's my hate club.
I like it. I do want to see him play, though.
I don't.
Just for the sake, I think it'd be cool if he broke the record. even if you think the record's legit or not, because it's an extra game.
Extra game is huge. Extra game is huge.
But you know what? People forgot about OJ with the 14 game, not what you think I'm talking about with OJ. Not that part.
He's a good guy.
The 14 games, 2,000 yards that he had, and then Dickerson, breaking that in 16 games, a little different.
Wow, 14 games.
14 games,
yards.
1973. How many yards?
2003.
2003.
143 yards a game.
Yeah. But yeah, I still like to see him do it.
Juice was loose.
My hate club, I hate to turn the hate club into a Jets segment, but it's only fitting because it seems like it's happened more and more this year for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
There was a video circulating around the internet, many of them from the Jets game. We had the Michael Clemens swan dive. We had Aaron Rodgers doing just absolutely terrible things on a football field. But the one that really took the cake for me was in the pregame, the New York Jets walking out of the tunnel with a boombox, like the 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers made popular, back in the day when they were, making Super Bowls and winning their division and were like the top dog in the NFC, if not the NFL. The New York Jets, the 4-11 heading into Sunday New York Jets, walked out of the tunnel with a damn boombox on their shoulder. And to make this organization any more of an embarrassment than it actually is, and we actually haven't even mentioned, because I don't think we recorded since that article came out about Woody Johnson with the Madden ratings. But if this organization could be any more of a joke, they are doing it with Josh Allen in the background, practically laughing, looking at this team, just knowing what is about to happen on the football field. So, just can we stop with I put something on my Instagram story. They posted a hype video on Friday of the Jets.
Yeah.
And it's just, can you just pack it up? Like, just play these last couple games. Just go about your business. Go get blown out. Put your head down. Deal with it. And go home. No hype videos. No boom boxes. Just lose and leave me alone.
They should fire Ulbrich. Just for, the principle.
They should fire the goddamn hot dog concession guy. They should fire everybody.
Ulbrich is terrible.
Ulbrich is horrible.
Awful.
But honestly, it's not the guy's fault. You're a defensive coordinator, and then in the middle of the season, they're like, hey, be a head coach. We know you've never been a head coach before.
You know
what?
But
he coached the Senior Bowl.
It's not his fault. I get that. But he also has made some what are we doing moments as head coach. Yeah. But he's not head coach.
No, he's not head coach. But the poor guy's career now is over. His chance of being a head coach is over.
Yeah. Unless he goes back to San Francisco and, works his way up again.
Yeah, see you in 5 years. Sure.
I think Bobby Saleh could get a job, potentially.
Bobby Saleh might get a job. I mean, anybody could get an interview. Rex Ryan's getting interviewed by the Jets. Ron Rivera is getting interviewed by the Jets. Yeah, anybody can get interviewed these days.
No, I'm saying just in general, like Bob Saleh.
Yeah.
Players love him.
Yep.
He dealt a really bad hand with the Jets. He goes to be a defensive coordinator again. He can have a Brian Flores kind of situation.
Yeah. You know what very nice things to say about Saleh? Sam Darnold.
Sammy D.
Sam Darnold.
You wanted to play with him.
Yep.
He didn't get the chance. Mm-hmm. Did he?
Nope. They traded him.
Yep.
That was Douglas's first move.
I was on my way to a Mets-Phillies game when he did that.
Who was the lineup that day?
DeGrom pitched. It was Mets opening day.
You see that report?
It's not true.
Yeah.
I love
Andy Martino. Bit of a liar though.
What'd he say?
I saw a report today that Andy Martino said DeGrom's camp has floated around the idea of him being traded back to the Mets.
No.
I did see that.
Did you?
Look up DeGrom on Twitter. It should be the first thing that pops up.
I'm gonna get my hopes up again. I don't see anything. I mean, I kept seeing this.
I saw it before. I'll show you later. Okay. Okay.
Anyway, all right. I can't show that. Or talk about what that was. We'll see if the Mets bring back DeGrom, but we won't talk about it because we're a football pod. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a big year for us. We made a change to an all football podcast and really appreciate all the support, following us on social media and all. JM, anything to say before we get out of here for the year?
No, I'm currently tracking my fantasy championship. Things are looking good right now.
Good luck.
Hoping to win that. And thanks everybody for another great year. This is year number 5 for us coming up.
Is it 5?
We started, calendar year 5 because we started in 21. So 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. But is it our 5-year anniversary coming up? 4?
I feel like it's 4. 4-year anniversary.
But it's our 5th year doing it.
Yeah. 4-year anniversary.
Yes.
Big stuff.
I think I did that math correctly.
I don't know if you did, but
it's not making sense in my head right now.
I'm not good at math.
No, it is making sense in my head. Yes. Okay, we're good.
There we go. We'll talk to you guys in 2025.